he found out she was cheating on him.
Live.
All right. We live, brothers. And as a result, I like how he just threw us in there.
Listen, don't worry. It's okay, man. It's live. All right. So it's okay, man. It's okay, man. It just happened that way. It happened that way. It just happened.
I got you. Go ahead, Rod. Do your thing.
All right. So let me just welcome everybody here tonight to our opening of Fatherhood Talks. Tonight's topic is why so angry black man. And for us who are in South Florida, we know that there has been another incident of a black man, a father, a husband, who has let his anger or let whatever emotional thing affect him to cause violence that has, and I don't know the whole story. I'll let some of you guys know, because I'm looking at a completely different story up here in Jacksonville on the news. So I don't know that. It's amazing. I'm looking at signs that say gay. So that just let you know the news point that we go. But we want to welcome everybody here tonight to our Fatherhood Talks. We have our panel here. I'll allow the panel to go around and just introduce themselves, and then we'll get back to what our topic is tonight.
Yeah. You got 3 kids, 24, 14, 9, and a grandson that's 2, finna be 3.
Good evening. My name is Johnny Gaspard. I have 2 kids, one 23 and the other one 19, about to be 20. And they make me feel like my pocket never gonna stop paying for them, even though they grown. And I'm excited to be here, be part of this this meeting tonight.
Got Gene Robert Menard, father of 2, 18-year-old and 26-year-old.
Lawrence Jordan, father of 2, 26 and 33, grandfather 110. Glad to be with you gentlemen again tonight. See, I'm sure the topic is going to be hot.
Donald Jones, father of 2, 12, soon to be 13 and 11.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father of 7. I ain't going through all the ages. We ain't got that kind of time. But father of 7, grandfather of 1, and I'm just always enthusiastic about being here and having this conversation with you guys.
Good evening, fellow fathers. I'm a divorced dad, father of two girls, ages 15 and 17. I'm a part of this Fatherhood Talks, where we advocate for children and hope to help the children grow to be good citizens.
All right. With that being said, gentlemen, is that everybody? All right, I think that would be everybody. So, gentlemen, tonight, since we're going to be talking about this idea of, and I'm gonna kind of take this into another, because I know that you guys are ready to talk about
one more last. Oh wow.
Oh, okay. Go ahead now.
I'm Yonel Munimam, father of 6, married, still living with my kids and my wife.
All right, that's your now. All right, so we so what? Let me just immediately jump into this, and it's funny because the pre-conversation probably is way a whole bunch of what we probably been saying when we went live, and I didn't want to put y'all out there like that because you didn't know you was live at the moment. But I think that one of the big parts that this connects with in our work that we do in 24/7 Dad is showing and handling feelings. And so one of the big factors in the idea of how we show and handle our feelings, how that plays out is it a big part of that is what we do to represent our feelings, and how do we actually show our feelings, and what do we do. My first question is to you guys on the panel, because I equate this back to when you were a boy, what told you, how were you told to show your feelings and emotions? How were you told? How were you told? How did you show your feelings and emotions? What did you do to handle those? And where did you kind of learn those from? So I know that's kind of a lot of questions into one, but you can take any of them and kind of like bring it into the conversation tonight.
I think that just to start off, I think that when you talk about emotions and you talk about men, I think especially growing up, you're always taught to bottle that up. You fall, you hurt yourself, they say, suck it up, get up, right? You start talking about feelings, they say, nah, man, don't do that. So I think we're taught that when it comes to emotions and dealing with emotions, you're on your own. You got to figure it out. You got to deal with it on your own. There's very, very little outlets that you have in order to just be able to express yourself. I think as you get older and you start to learn to process things a little bit differently, if you have that, if you're fortunate enough, you can process it a little bit differently because you find yourself inside a group like this that you can actually express yourself, and they give you positive feedback on the fact that you can't express yourself. But oftentimes it's so hard to find a group like this that you're stuck, again, as an adult, trying to process those same emotions and feelings on your own. I'm going to say this, it goes to the adverb that, how when you're talking to somebody, you say, how was your day? You don't want to hear anything but fine or good. Because the minute they start telling you how their day really was, you're like, you know what? You start to dismiss them. And so that is the outlet that a lot of men have when it comes to expressing their feelings, is that dismissive personality. Not even, and I'm gonna say this, and it may be off, but not even for other men, but even the women that they're with tend to shut them off when it comes to them expressing themselves, giving them the label of being, stop being a little wimp, or stop being, girly, or whatever it is, because you want to express yourself and give them and have people understand what you're truly going through.
Okay, yeah, great.
Well, I would say, because part of your question was about where do we learn how to express our feelings, and again, and Gene was on point with it. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily grow up as men being taught how to express ourselves. I know that my mom tried to do her best to help us remember what it means as far as young men to be not necessarily emotional, but be willing to share how we feel. And my dad wasn't that dude. So if you ain't going to him about how you feel about, somebody did you something wrong at school, he like, so what you telling me about it for? What'd you do? That's his question. What did you do when they did what they did to you? Did you what was your response? So no, that wasn't something that we grew up having the experience of, but mom did try to do her best to try to help us share those feelings because she wanted to know what her sons were dealing with. I'm the oldest of four. I have two younger brothers, and the youngest is a girl. So she always wanted to know where we were mentally, as far as because she's in the medical field. So as I grew up, and as Gene said, as we get older, you start to be around people who, help you to understand and share this about yourself. And then you realize in life, especially in my profession, you got to be willing to at times hear what people have to say, because it's a very emotional thing that people go through being involved in a legal situation. Doesn't necessarily have to be criminal. It could be something in the family courts. It could be something, it's very emotional when you're going through something. So you learn how to be more understanding and compassionate with people. And that then helps you be able to, and that's been beneficial to me over the last, 20 years of doing this. that because of understanding how people's pain and trying to put myself in their shoes, I've learned how to be more able to express my feelings more and be more positive without feeling like I can't say something because somebody's going to look at me as being weak or you know, a punk or something, whatever you want to call it. I just think that, you know, growing up, 9 out of 10 of us will probably tell you we never got that aspect as a young boy. But now that we've gotten older, and like anything else, with time and experience, we've learned how to be able to deal with that because we were placed in positive situations that helped us to grow that mindset.
I kind of agree with that. Especially, I think it's like in the 80s, early 90s, as a male, you know, they had give us that tough love, but the mother, you know, give us that, you know, that sense of love. You understand what I'm trying to say? What I mean? So it's like, you go to daddy, hey, toughen up, boy. You know what I mean? Hey, so cut it out. With a mom, okay, she'll listen, you know, and talk you through it and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely.
Go ahead. You want to go ahead, Lawrence?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, it just hasn't been since the 2000s that the television and media in general has influenced many of our lives. Many of us grew up and dad was actually working, and a lot of the things that we learned were actually on the TV. Basically, it was from cowboys, though. And you never saw a cowboy cry. And, you know, he'll get shot in you know, just hit a bottle of whiskey and put this knife in your mouth and let me just cut you. You know, you'll be all right. You know, and we learn those things to be tough. And what they actually told us is that anything that lent itself to feelings or any type of emotional outbursts was a characteristic of femininity, and cowboys didn't do that, you know, and that's the way we learned a lot of things.
Well, I'd like to add, as Ron mentioned, the past, present, and the future. As a son from a divorced family, I wasn't taught anything about anger. I have seen anger, I have seen narcissism, I've seen pretty much a lot of things that I shouldn't have seen at that tender age. Unfortunately, that can you can either change or follow. And I would say, to some degree, you have to make the change, and changes are hard when it comes to not doing the norm. Now, in terms of present, being here with this fatherhood group, I have learned to deal with anger. I've been faced in many situations where anger has been presented to me, both in my family and on the street, on the job. And I always say, you have to learn to control yourself first before you control someone else. And with that, the most I can say is from my research shows is that whenever someone gets angry, usually hear the same thought. I usually hear things like I just lashed out. I went off the cliff, and those are things we need to work on as African American men. We need to be trained, open to training. We're trained to go on a job. We're trained to go to high school and college. But there are other groups that can support you whenever you are faced with such situations. That's my take on that situation.
Well, my dad used to always tell me, son, pick your battles. So for me, and living by that philosophy, I had a whole lot of examples. Let the truth be known. Again, I divide the community up, and particularly the community where I'm from, up to the scholars and hustlers. And so I can use any one of those motivations at any time. The scholar would have me to say, who sets the standard for my anger and my emotions? Who's the emotional police, particularly in this country or even this world? as it pertained to me. And so when it comes to managing my anger, you understand, I had to seek wisdom on that. And from the scholar standpoint, I have to seek the wisdom of be angry and sin not. So I had to learn from my teachers, my pastors, the people who tried to instill that, and I wouldn't even say positive, you understand, because Martin Luther King was a pastor, you understand, and civil disobedience is a whole different kind of anger. You understand? You understand? It's a matter of fact, civil disobedience is not an acceptable anger at that particular time. It's not even an acceptable anger right now. But being angry and sin not doesn't make me dormant to your oppression or your abuse. So I don't want us to see anger like some type of repellent. We need to know that, and particularly as men, that anger is a resource and it will be used, and in the word of my Muslim brother, by any means necessary if you cross certain lines. And so my anger is very intentional, very channeled. I haven't gotten rid of it, but I learned how to use that particular resource responsibly and particularly wisely. So somebody didn't teach me how to get rid of my anger. Most people taught me how to channel my anger. And so that's the same thing I would leave to the next generation. I'm like, no, you get angry, but you sin not. You understand? Because there's and the Bible also says there's a time and place for everything under the sun. So anger is a resource, not a repellent. And I don't think men need to demonize themselves for, crossing that threshold when those times come. It's how you respond that determines the resource.
Let me just jump in there for 1 minute, like Brian, because you sparked me, and once you started the conversation, I had to put my finger up immediately because you said something. And I think this is important, and I think that I'm learning more and more in my work with emotions when it comes to men and females, but more men and young men. You said your daddy told you. Your daddy told you to pick and choose your battles. And in many instances, we sometimes take for granted those words that daddies and uncles and men would have told us about our emotions on how we were supposed to handle them. Because what we have now in some society, and this is a family issue, not a mom issue, not a dad. This is a family issue. Kids are growing up without balanced emotions. So where a young man might have been able to, not get sensitive about something and say, well, I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that slide. In some instances, he may have already took on some emotionality that wasn't, in some sense, we would say masculine. He might have took on some feminine emotionality, and vice versa for our young ladies, taking on some of this masculine energy. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is, it's always something wrong when it's not balanced. And if you have too much of something, it's always going to lead to a problem.
I have to also comment on something that he said, which is the anger as a resource. And a lot of people don't understand that anger is a natural emotion. The way you deliver it makes it good or bad. So anger is a natural state. Anger is a natural resource, like Lionel was saying. And it's a matter of how you channel it and how you project it and how you use it, which makes the difference in everything that you do. So that's one thing that I want to reiterate in which he said, because I think that's very important also.
That's the biggest issue though. I mean, we all know that as men here. I think we all understand that being angry is part of being human. Whether it be at your spouse and something crazy that came out their mouth, or your homeboy who will say something to try to check you to see if you mad enough to respond, because many people would know that Chris Rock and Will Smith are homies, but Chris Rock handled, believe me, he wasn't happy about the slap. I can tell you he was pissed off, but he channeled it and he handled his anger in that moment completely different than his homeboy did. So us being here and being able to understand it, and as Ron was focusing on, having that daddy to tell you, hey, pick your battle. and understanding that aspect of it. I think that's the biggest thing for many of our young people today, and many men today. They don't have someone to help them understand how to control and channel and use that anger in the right direction. And oftentimes, because of their experience growing up, they take something that may happen with them, especially in relationships, and go the path of violence because that's the part they've seen. So their anger gets pushed to that level that most of us would definitely not do, because we're thinking, I have so much to lose. But where do you get to the point? Where is it lack of direction or guidance when your violence or your anger puts you to the point where you choose something that goes beyond where you could come back from? You guys get what I'm coming from?
Yeah, I think it's a balance between logic, right? And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because you have to go back to logical thinking, right? And I know that when you deal with emotions, sometimes they're so raw that logic goes out the window.
Yeah,
I get that. But in overall, how often are you snapping and what are you snapping at? And that's when you realize whether you have anger management issues, I should say. Not so much control issues, but anger management issues. Because if something simple is setting you off, then don't wait till something major happens in your life in order to seek some kind of guidance or someone to talk to. Because oftentimes, think about when we're talking to somebody and we're like, yo, that's bothering you? Come on. It's so simple. And once you start talking to them and working it through, they can understand how to overcome. I think a lot of times when we have anger, when we have those problems, it's because we can't navigate ourselves over the obstacles in our life. We get stuck on those obstacles and it becomes a pinpoint in which we revert back to. And that's where anger starts to fester. And you have to be willing to say, you know what? I need some help. I need someone else to talk to. Even with the little things, just be like, yo, I need someone else to talk to. I have to find someone else who I can bring this stress to. And I say it that way. I can bring this stress to, because sometimes having another ear to talk to will alleviate some of that stress in that moment. And sometimes, as a guy, as a woman, you need to vent. Sometimes you don't need an answer to something. You just need to get it off your chest because it's bothering you and it's lingering in the back of your mind. So those are the things that you have to actually look at. And then when you're able to overcome that, you can start looking at all these things, all these moments that drive you up a wall that make you angry with a little bit more logic.
But
I think that's what and correct me if I'm wrong, Lightborn, but that's what you mean by channeling it, right? Looking at it logically and saying, I'm the owner of my own anger. I decide who's going to get me angry or what's going to get me angry. And then I'm going to move in that direction to solve the issues.
Okay, I'm going to give you a scenario. 9-year-old boy feels abandoned by mom. Okay, he's pushed away, he's been pushed away all the time. She seems to never choose him. He then gets, he now has an issue with women because he feels they represent who mom is, about the abandonment and pushing him away and not choosing him, always picking the dudes over her child. Okay. And then he's let's say, because, a lot of dudes with I'll use the phrase Napoleon complex, smaller guy, maybe a little shorter. They irritated because now people trying to clown them, other dudes trying to pick on them. And they already got the drama with mama. Okay. And there is no father figure checking them, teaching them, showing them about how to deal with their anger that has nothing to do with the situation, but everything to do with how they feel about what happened to them when they were children. So they stay angry. Are you guys get where I'm coming from? There's there's nobody who's there to really help them understand that. So I get you about the logic, right, Gene? But when you have not been, and I'm talking about the kid that's 19, 18, 20, some of these young men that we know out here in these streets are doing the kind of craziness that comes from that level of anger and abandonment because or hopelessness, where they feel like there's no other choice. So the moment they get pissed, they're willing to do the extreme. That's the kid that I'm trying, or the man that I'm trying to talk about as far as being angry. because oftentimes when you get to where we are in life, we are exposed to people that help us be better. Not always, because we see that, as we were talking earlier about the gentleman who took his wife's life there in Miami on a domestic issue. But for the most part, as we get older, we are exposed to different men, different situations that help us deal with the anger in a way, or we experience something that helps us understand before we go that path that we need to make a change. And that's why I'm talking about those young guys. Like Brandon, you were going to jump in.
Oh, with that young guy, well, it depends on the individual. I mean, let's see it like this. You have, let's say you had a young man, same young man. You just see his mom, his dad beat his mom. But he would grow up and be the complete opposite. You understand? Right. About picking your battles. So I think even at an early age as a child, we're conditioning ourselves to choose who we want to be. Do we want to be that abuser, or do we want to be the antithesis, or the antithesis, what they call it, the antithesis of that abuser?
Yeah.
Antithesis. And we don't talk. I always wanted to use that word. But and the same thing with any other bad habit that one of our parents may have, mother or father, you always tend to choose the opposite. I mean, my mom, she smoked and she drank, but I grew up not being a smoker or a drinker because I understood the pros and cons of it. And so doesn't make her any less of a mom, but I understood what hurt her, right? And gotcha. So I never chose her hurt. And gotcha. I think for children, and just the innocence of intelligence and the intelligence of innocence, that children actually choose their lessons of what they want to be as opposed to what they don't want to be. And
are you sure?
Huh? Listen,
I can agree with that. Because
let me clarify, because I think that I was going to say this before Lionel, used his elite words and shared it, is that we have to remember that so much of our early development is based on learned behavior. Correct. But what also happens is that we also have our own intelligence to make a decision if we want to do that or not do it. We play into, like, what stops a person who grows up in a very violent environment from not being violent? That they have had some decision, are they take on, as my new famous the word of the week, defense mechanism, to not do that, to put on a happy face and be happy instead of being a grumpy, mean person as they do. So you have that opportunity, but it also goes into what kind of other interventions are coming into that person. Correct. So it's not, it doesn't, we like to believe things happen by osmosis. Sometimes they don't. It happens by what kind of impact. So if you are, and I love what you said, Lionel, about people are influenced by, what hurt they take on from their parents, right? So imagine a young man and a young lady who takes on nothing but hurt from their parent, that one parent that might be raising them. What else do they ever have but other than hurt? Correct. And what you'll find is boys are more likely to take on their mom's hurt than the girls, because girls don't want to be like like their mama. It's a strange. Women have a unique characteristic. We want to be like our dads, but girls ain't trying to be like their moms. They want to be their own woman.
Another thing.
This is not. Listen, I'm just suggesting it because the next thing you know, we get people saying that I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying that what you see typically in family relations and family development, that boys really honor their moms, want to protect their moms, and want to be like their dads. So that's why the influence of us not being in our sons' lives are so important on how they develop, what they become. And then, the girls are being taught by their mom what they want to be, and sometimes they want to be a little bit different. And that's why they need a dad to show them that they can have something a little bit different. If you ever been in a house with a mother and a father and a daughter and a son, and that tension between the mama and the daughter, when dad plays the go-between, when he's triangularized in their relationship of giving this daughter the love and being daddy's girl, and how sometimes mom is completely uncomfortable with that. That's just a go to say you see these kind of dynamics, and there's so many we have to sometimes wake up and recognize what our dynamics are in our family and how they operate, and how we can intervene them. So, and do something about them. We have a couple questions. We have a question. If we don't have, I have a question in the chat, and it's Abe H. And we know who Abe is, one of our good pals. We'll hopefully hear from him tomorrow. The question that we have here is, he says, what's a Black man's outlet for anger so we don't explode or implode? This is a good question to you guys. We got a panel of guys who, I'm sure many of you guys have had anger. What are you doing for outlets to avoid and get out of those dispositions?
Well, okay, I'm going to get to that answer, but I just want to add this just on top of what you guys were saying before. I think that when you look at that 9-year-old also, that 9-year-old may turn into an adult seeking any woman for that motherly attention.
Oh, yeah.
And so you will have that opposite effect where I was neglected as a kid, but now I'm searching for any woman who's going to treat me like a child, in a sense, because I'm longing for that type of relationship. And so that can also impact them negatively because they may find the wrong woman in the future searching for that that type of relationship. Now, ways to, that's a great question. I agree with you.
Hold on. You sure you don't want, you sure, hold on. Hold on, Gene. You said that so fast. I want to make sure if anybody got anything they want to say, because you threw like a curveball out there. Nobody swing at it. But it was an excellent curveball. I just wanted to make sure before we go to the next part, anybody got anything they want to say about that part? It was a quick curveball.
I got something I got to say about that if I can chime in at this time.
Okay, go ahead, Donald.
Mr. Maynard, you're actually right, but I also agree with Mr. Lightborn too, because I'm a product of that kind of situation where I dealt in a house where my parents were abusive to each other, as well as being abusive to the children. So we really didn't have an outlet or any emotional support because mom being a narcissist and dad trying to stay away. He just wanted to keep his family solid so we can all work together. So my turn to outlet was my brothers and my sisters for the defense mechanism to protect them and to go out and play sports and sing and do the things that I love to do to try to get away from it. But it still ended up manifesting in my life later on. This is the reason why I'm going through the divorce I'm going through now, because I ended up marrying a woman with the same kind of characteristics my mom had. But I'm not abusive. I haven't hit any women, haven't been to jail for nothing like that. And I don't carry on like that in my house because that defense mechanism that's been built up in me is not to be like my mother or my father, but to also be able to love, listen, and hear out what my children have to say, because those are things that I didn't get when I was younger.
Right on, my brother, right on.
Listen, this is important. This is why let me go back and say something to the audience that's watching and really get to the point of why we even had, because somebody might say we just had the show so we can hear ourselves talk. But it is not. It is moments like this that when we were in our private groups that we felt was so important for the rest of the world to actually hear what fathers are really thinking, what they have really experienced, and begin to get a outlet so you can have a window into what's going on with fathers in this world. Fathers Talk is a program that we hope that you are liking and sharing and subscribing to, so you'll know when we're going live and when this show is happening. But it's every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. But we just want to, that's a great example. I can't take a moment without saying, if you like what you're hearing, please like, please share, and subscribe to this channel so we can continue this content and let you understand what fathers really talk about. All right, guys, back to that question. Now, look, I'm doing my own commercials for, look at that. Back to the question that we had prior to that about what are some of the outlets that we have to help us with our anger so we don't explode or implode.
Ron, I like to put mine in as a father. You know, as I use the word understanding, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Most times when we are faced in a situation where we are uncomfortable, where we want a certain outcome, and it displaces us, I think the best thing to do, well, for me, I go swimming. I do some form of exercise. I find it to work for me very well. And I always use this term, the stop term. And you guys know what that means, right? Stop, think, observe, and proceed. You gotta have your own values and your own rules for yourself as a man, whether you're black or white or whatever culture you're from. And I think that helps a lot, because you don't wanna break the stop sign. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, for me, my outlet is actually input, because I am not one of those stop guys. I'm a detour guy, but I'm not a stop guy. And so because I'm not a stop guy, I just find another way around something or another way to deal with it. And it's okay to have different options and mechanisms, because if I can address the situation in another way, it stops me from quitting them. And I would rather recondition myself than reposition myself. Now, what do that mean? If I can recondition myself and give myself different options, then I don't have to reposition myself to another relationship. And so a lot of times how we deal with it, just go ahead and trade that female up for another one. You understand? And that's not good for society. It's not good for me. It's not good for my children or anything like that. So it took a lot of reconditioning. So I can stop repositioning myself, being a father of 4 children and 4 separate mothers. So every or past options I had, where it may have seemed kept me out of violent situations. You understand? In the long term, it still hurt me and my children, even though I never laid a hand on none of them. And so I think it's a lot of things. We can be violent spiritually, we can be violent intellectually. And just because you abandon a person, I mean, that's still abuse. Well, at least DCF classifies as abuse, abandon, abuse, and neglect. And so just because you're notorious for an abandoning person, that doesn't mean make you less of an abuser. You're just a very quiet, peaceful abuser, nevertheless.
I'm gonna add on that, because one way that you can do it is also talking to somebody. Now, here's a caveat to talking to somebody. Don't talk to someone like-minded like you, because then they're gonna make you explode. You gotta get somebody objective, someone who's gonna listen to you and someone who's gonna tell you, you know what, honestly tell you if you're wrong or if you're right, or if you have the right to feel a certain way or you don't have the right to feel that way. Because what happens is a lot of times we end up telling people a story, they react the way we react, which hypes us up. So now we're both upset about the situation, getting angry and angrier. But if we talk to the right person, talk to the right people, put the right people in position, and we tell them the story and they can listen to it objectively and be like, you know what? I understand why you're mad, but here's a different way to look at it, or here's a different way to respond to it, or how to handle it. It changes a lot. Also, it helps with your way of thinking about things, because sometimes we get that tunnel vision. We're like a dog with a bone sometimes, where we get something, we just hang on to, and we're like, nah, this is how it is, this is what, until we get that one person that gives us a gem that we can then sit back and be like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. And so that's one of the ways where for me personally, I like to talk things out sometimes, and I like to take my time. I'm kind of a stop person myself. I'll stop, think, and do that. But it's only so long that I want to think about something before I move on from it, because for me, I personally don't like to dwell. I like to stay solution focused. So if it's a problem, I figure out a way how to figure it out, how to handle it, and then I move on from that, because I don't like to let things fester.
Well, as usual, Brother Lightburn Professor Lightburn always dropping some knowledge about what do you say? Instead of reposition, we should recondition. I like that. I'm gonna have to use that one when I'm doing my closing in one of my cases.
Hey, Lightburn, you need to send him a retainer, Doc. You need to send him a
telling
retainer,
you,
because if you're gonna be in the court using your stuff, man, you might well get some retainer from some of that. Hey, fellas, let me say this to you right now. I'm looking at some of the social media where I was sharing that the flyers from, and I seen that there was this statement from a guy. I don't know who the guy is. His name is Keith Freeman on Facebook, and he said his comment was, "Black men are not angry. I really wish we would stop spreading this message. A matter of fact, Black men are doing much better than Black women. The facts are the facts. And I think that it, I thought about this and I responded back to that brother and said, hey, you should tune in. Don't judge a book by its cover. But I definitely can understand and empathize with his thought, because it is this message that we are angry. And every time you see that advertisement somewhere, it's like the angry Black man. The whole weekend, that's all we kind of dealt with. Was it, all week we dealt with is this idea of this man, angry Black man, or is he a protecting Black man? Whatever it is, Black men don't have a monopoly on anger. I just want to make sure we don't have the most stock in it. It's clear that everybody who's a human being has emotions and feelings. It just somehow it's been contributed to us, maybe because people have a fear of us.
There you go.
Sometimes it's that reverse mindset. Again, back to my defense mechanisms. I am scared of you because I'm scared of you. I have fear of you, and I think that you're going to do something. When that may not be okay, because somebody told me that the other day that I'm yelling at them, and I'm talking the same way I'm talking now, but I had to explain to them and back up and say, listen, I'm a passionate person. Trust me, if I'm angry and mad, you would never know, because you wouldn't even hear me say a word. Because I'm not talking when I'm angry and mad. And this is the idea of not really understanding sometimes us as men, who we are. This is another reason why we want this kind of platform, so people can see at least this few men that we have here, be able to express what kind of men we are and talk about, some of the facts that you may not be able to hear from the man that might be in the house with you, that you have a child with, or even other men in your family, like your brothers and your cousins. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rohan.
That gentleman who made that comment about we're not angry. I empathize with him, but I usually say the proof is in the pudding. The proof is within the action. There are other cultures and other groups that has anger. The only difference, in my opinion, they deal with their anger differently. Let's be real, gentlemen. We are feared. You go into the court system, you are told stop fighting, which I responded, I'm not here to fight, I'm here to advocate. There seems to be a cloud over certain cultures, behavior. You watch the television, you see the behavior. Anger is something that needs to be talked about. I always say, what's behind that door? Because many people don't like to open that door. And this forum will obviously talk about all aspects of our lives that we face on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying that all men are angry, but I can sure tell you there's a lot of anger in the world.
Well, I'm gonna go on to say this because it's not that so much that you're angry, but you put in a position to make it seem like you're angry. There's a lot of things in society that's already pitted against the Black man. Let's be honest. It's a societal thing. You look at culture in the media, like you were saying, Rohan, and everything that you see that comes to Black is negative, right? It's kind of embedded, ingrained into what people are thinking without them realizing it, subliminal messaging. Because the minute that you're standing in line and there's no smile on your face, they're like, why are you upset? I don't have to smile. I don't have to walk around with a permanent grin on my face. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a time where I'm not smiling because nothing's funny. I'm just standing in a line. So it's automatic that you're told or you're treated in a way. And the minute that you raise your voice or lower your voice one octave, they tell you, calm down. There's no need to be upset. And you're like, I'm not upset. Like Ron was saying, it's about passion. And the minute that something's done wrong to you and you voice it, they're like, yo, you're overreacting. No, I'm not overreacting. I'm trying to get my point across. And a lot of times it's, and I'm going to say it's also a cultural thing, because when you're talking to your fellow people in your culture, I know I can speak for the Haitian culture. We get loud. People say, hey man, they're like really arguing with each other. No, we're not arguing. We're having a good time and like a good discussion. So it's also a cultural thing that people may not understand. And so they pass it off as anger without them realizing that is a norm for where you're from. And because you know, and it's almost as if as a Black man, you have to be on eggshells and tiptoe everywhere you go in order for them not to put you in that light based on everything that's being fed to them on a daily basis.
Well, let me ask you this question, Gene, because you just brought up you know, it just goes back into my mindset is it that they realize, you know, I forget the lady name, the little white lady with the gray hair, goes around doing cultural racial issues. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head, because you know,
Jane Elliott.
What's her name? Jane. I knew we got enough guys on here who know who it is. But this idea, I remember her asking a question, hey, why that they already know. The reason why they think sometimes that we're that way because they know why if they was us, they would feel that way.
Of course.
And they forget about the faith that we have in something that doesn't have to be that for us, that resilience that we have in us, that doesn't make us have to be like that just because you know why we should be like that. Mm-hmm. We should be walking around here with machetes and storming the Capitol and running up the we should be doing that, but we're not doing that. But you're always treating us like that's what we're about to do at any moment.
Well, I think that's what it is. Mentally, they're preparing for an uprising.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
We ain't uprise by now. Wait, listen. It might not be in our nature to uprise, but that may not be the kind of people we are. You want us to be something that you are. We may not be that. So when are we going to get to uprise?
But you said something that is very powerful right there. A lot of times we have a tendency to view people with the characteristics that we have.
Right.
So if I know that I'm going to do you wrong, I'm automatically going to treat everybody I see like they're going to do me wrong. And I'm going to try to get the upper hand. So you're not going to get me first. I'm going to get you before you get me. And so that's the mindset that a lot of people walk around with when they view, and in my opinion, the African-American culture, the Black culture, whatever, you know, because they're ready to do something to us. So they're preparing themselves to not be the first one to get caught.
Yeah. Donald says, let me say this real quick. Donald says, we're misunderstood because of what we've been through. And I think that's a really interesting statement.
I just wanted to run something by you fellas, if I could.
Go ahead.
Being angry, I think that there's such a thing as righteous anger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Really, to me, and you've heard me say this before, all of this really boils down to capitalism, economics. And what I mean by that is, in a capitalist society, somebody's got to be at the bottom. There are layers. That's why you hear upper middle class, lower middle class, and it goes up. When you have economics, because we know who we are, men, I'm not talking about just Black men, men know who they are. And as a man, you are born to be a leader, to lead your family, to lead the things that you need to do. When because of your economics, and you say, I can't afford to feed my family. When you say, I can't afford to send my kids to school. When I can't get a job that I know that I'm better than my boss is, he's a fool. I'm better than he is, but guess what? I can't get the job because they put a barrier in front of me that says, you need an AA degree, or you need this, or you need a license, or you need this. That's the way we're kept on the bottom. I'm righteously angry because you have institutionalized those things to keep me on the bottom. I know where I need to be. I'm going to be on that cliff every day. You've taken me to an emotional roller coaster every day. Now I have to make a decision. Am I going to jump today, or am I going to back off and think about this thing? You know, But as long as the economics stay as they are, and we are on the bottom, and if you could look at statistically, we're on the bottom of everything except bad health. We're on the top when it comes to that. You know, we're going to remain angry. The only way we're going to get out of our anger is if we can do those things as men that we feel that fulfill our own destiny. I can feed my family. I can take care of the things I need to do. Those things would change my life. But
So
I
true.
can't.
I think
that's coming from, again, we gotta remember that that's coming from one of our elders here, elders. You know, so he definitely talking, he's bringing back some generational things that we might not even be thinking about and remembering.
I think
that's important.
It brings me back to a picture that you showed a while back, Ron, with the black father in front of his daughter, and he had a whole bunch of poker sticking out his back. It said cops, depression, child support, bills, job, and baby mama drama, things like that. And so all that is something that, like you said, a man has to deal with, that doesn't have an outlet. And sometimes hopelessness plays a key role into why we're angry with that righteous anger. Because like you said, when it's systemic, and no matter what you do to try to get out of it, it's not so much that you can't do it, but the system is working against you in every possible turn. You then have a sense of hopelessness. And so that's what turns the average black man who is not very angry into an angry black man, to be honest with you. And so those are the things that you have to look at when it comes, not so much that you're, because you could have grown up in a middle-class family, both parents there, but as an adult, you're struggling because the system is still in place to keep you down. And it changes your whole outlook on how you're going to view things.
Lawrence was 100% on point. Anger, remember I told you anger is a resource rather. So anger is the way I advocate for my enemy. And so don't think for 1 minute that I'm going to give you peace for oppression. Don't think I'm going to give you peace for mistreatment. That anger is the best way I can advocate for you, because what it does is it protects you from assault. You understand? And so anger becomes a privilege for you. And so don't take anger, and particularly our anger, for granted. That anger is a very plausible resource, because it says that I'm able to restrain myself. Yes, you need to know that I'm angry. If we're first in all the problems and last in all the progress, yes, how am I supposed to feel about that? Anger is also a teachable moment. So don't think for a minute. You understand what I'm saying? And I think every black man, I think you should be angry, because if that provokes conversation, then that makes you a teacher. And give them that history lesson. They won't allow you to have critical race theory in the school. So guess what? Let's just wear it on our face until they make it a curriculum. Because you always want to ask questions you don't really want no answers for. And I think that anger can be the very inroad, you understand, for the lesson certain people need. And definitely for certain injustices need. Because you're not going to have the majority. We're like 13% of the population, and you're like almost like, I think, more than 50% of the prison population. How am I supposed to feel about that? You understand? So everybody want to talk about your characteristics. You understand? But nobody want to talk about your circumstances. What I'm supposed to be smiling to you? Because at some point, and I'm thinking unconsciously, what, you want me to be a stepping fetch? What, am I, a mammy or a pappy to you or something? What are you really asking me to be? You understand? So when people ask you, why are you so angry? You should ask them, why am I not? No reparation, I mean slavery, segregation, and I mean, I can name a whole bunch of it for you. So tell me, give me something I should be happy for. The fact that you let me out of slavery? I'm sorry, the fact that you put me into slavery, abused me for 400 years. You understand? We had to fight, and I mean, it had to be a spiritual warfare and a civil war just to get me out. And afterward, you really didn't get me out, because what you did now is just flip the slavery game, didn't give me reparation, and still have me at your monetary mercy, and still got me at your monetary mercy to this day. Now that I know all that and I can teach you all that, how would you feel if you were me? And that's where the teachable moment come in at. But anybody will ask you why you're angry. The problem is not so much why we angry. The problem is the fact that the average black man who don't know how to articulate anger. Being angry don't do nothing for me but make me focus more. I can solve the world's problems when I'm angry. So remember, I told you that anger is a resource. It's how if you don't ask me, ask the average person who might have had an argument with their spouse. I'm just going to make this universal. An argument with their spouse. When you go to work that next day, are you more focused or less focused? Is the question. And most of the time, I work really well. I'm just speaking for myself. When I'm rattled, when something that just upended my life, I'm more focused that way than as opposed to when I'm comfortable.
Agitation and aggravation.
Can I just put this in there? So you brought it up, and I wanted to share it with the group just so everybody know and make reference to what Gene was talking about.
Okay.
I think this is a great example, and I remember looking at this and getting some real odd feedback on some of it. Again, let me just say I just pulled this off the internet, so if it belongs to somebody, all the credit to you. It's not mine. but looking at this photo and being able to see the photo in the background, if we only knew the pain behind the smile and the different kind of things that are in the father's back as he deals with his child. And it's something that I pulled. I pulled this because it showed the father dealing with his child, and he had the happy face on despite whatever else was going on behind his back.
Are you sharing the screen, Brother Ron? Because we don't see it.
Yeah, I see it.
I see it.
Okay, maybe. Okay, I know everybody live is seeing it right now. So
okay, I see it.
Okay,
Ron,
Johnny, that's because you got the big double two screen to the back screen. What
Ron, you know what? After looking at this picture, now I'm understanding what the smile of a black man really is.
Mm-hmm.
The smile of a black man is a privilege, not a right. That's why he's giving it to that young, she, guess what? She deserved that. Guess what? We preserve ourselves for that. And that's who that smile belongs to. And so you don't just give it to any Joe Schmo that treats you any type of way and think, and I'm supposed to provide some type of peaceful environment for you. No, you got to earn that. And that little girl earns that smile every day for the sacrifice I make when I go in that world. So smiling and peace is a privilege. And I think we should distribute that accordingly.
And I'm going to reiterate what Lightborn was saying earlier, because I want y'all to understand the difference, those out there, what we mean by anger and using it like as a resource and not so much in a negative way. Now, anger was taking a knee, right? What's his name? His name was there, but it slipped my mind. The football player that took a knee. Kaepernick. Thank you. Kaepernick. Anger was Kaepernick taking a knee in silent protest, where the world got mad at him, right? Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You're being disrespectful, which he got permission from people from the military. Before he took a knee during the national anthem, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge this, but he actually asked soldiers who were actively serving and those who weren't, is it okay if I do this in protest? They said yes, because that's what we fought for, right? Everyone treated him a certain type of way with his silent protest until the world got mad as everything started being publicized with these deaths of these Black men, needless and senseless death of these Black men. Then the world started to get behind him, yet no one has apologized to his silent protest yet. No one has told him, I'm sorry because you were right back then. They only paid attention when all of us got enraged. when they started taking to the streets and marching in a focused, angry protest. And so that's how you use your anger, and you use it as a resource. Because sometimes when you sit quietly and hope that they listen, it's not loud enough. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more vocal to affect the change. And that's what is meant by using that anger as a resource and direction for it.
Listen, there's a lawyer in me now coming in, because I 100% agree with everything y'all have said. And I do know, however, we live in a society that marginalizes and minimalizes our value. And when we become angry in the inopportune moment, it can lend to that value being terminated, locked up, opportunities taken away, doors closed, additional costs and expenses to you. Because as many times, I literally was in court the other day, and this young brother was he was sitting there, he heard the judge sentence this guy and did this, and he felt like the judge was dismissal of him, but even though he had done the same thing for a non-person of color just recently, and made him wait for his case to be heard. So the young man started to get loud in the courtroom. So now you got the bailiff and the police officer looking at him, because they automatically are thinking, oh, he's about to do something that is going to be wrong in this situation. So because I already felt the tension in the courtroom, even though he was not my client, as I'm leaving, I stop and I say, hey, young brother, I understand your anger. I saw why you were angry. But you being angry in this position would only be a detriment to you. So you have to be, and listen, everything y'all are saying makes sense, but the average guy that comes on to this program, the average father, needs to understand about how to be able to be angry in the right moments, and how to understand the environment or the moment they're in to control, manage, and channel the energy as we've talked about, so it doesn't become a detriment, especially in the wrong time and in the wrong moment. And that's why I like this conversation. It's not just about, we've talked about anger from every different aspect. I'm glad LJ is here, because his generation went through a level of anger that we may never, ever understand. I could only imagine what he went through as a child growing up in the South and being told you can't cross here, you can't go. Can you imagine today somebody telling you you can't go somewhere because of the color of your skin? You're gonna lose your mind. Where LJ grew up in a time where that was just part of being a Black man in America. So when I go back and I think about what he went through, I say, hey, life is easy today. At least I got choices. I could go to Publix. I ain't got to go to Only Winn-Dixie or so, one of the not necessarily
Johnson's groceries, the only Johnson's groceries you could go to.
That's what I'm saying. I have choices. So I do agree with everything y'all are saying, my brothers. And I just want whoever is on here to understand, you can be angry. You're allowed to be. Why shouldn't you be? Everything like Warren said. But when you are, understand how it can impact you in the certain situation you're in, at the time you're in, so that you don't let it be a detriment to what you're trying to accomplish.
But hey, Johnny, you said something that was so powerful, and it's important that, and I think you selling exactly. We're also here to remind you that we have to be a resource to each other.
Correct.
Johnny could have dealt with everybody normally do, be like, that joke about to be, I use another word, but that joke about to be in major trouble.
Yeah.
But in reality, we have to validate each other, because in many instances, we are really the only people with validations that really matter sometimes. A black woman could have came and told him, honey, that wouldn't have meant nothing, because guess what? You don't know how I really feel. You ain't really experienced this. When we are able to validate each other sincerely, listen, the judge could have, depending on what the nationality of the judge was, the judge could have validated him by telling, hey, listen, I understand, I feel bad for you, but you did this crime, so you got to do this time. But brother, I feel you, and I don't think that none of it's right, but the law is the law, and we got to go by what's right and what's wrong. That's one way, But the powerful part of this is, and the message and the model that we're showing, that you showed, Johnny, is we seen it. So, they say, see something, say something. We seen it, and you said something. You let them know, and you validated that. I understand why you're angry. And that probably would allow him to calm down. Because in that moment, nobody was hearing or seeing, identifying anything that was going on with him. And what does that do to us? It makes us paranoid, and we then get upset. And then we feel like, well, you ain't gonna hear me, y'all gonna hear me. But
I just wanted to say one thing real quick. I think it's really important that when you get angry, it's not a bad thing to attack, but you need to understand what to attack. You need to attack the obstacle. Give an example of what I'm saying. If you got super angry because your boss got ahead of you or got that job because you did not get a degree, don't get pissed off with your boss. You attack the problem. You get a degree. If you have a situation where your girl comes up and she is just extremely angry, and you say to her, baby, what you so afraid of? Because really, most anger is grouped in fear. You're angry because you're afraid of something. Something has occurred that you're really afraid of, and you're reacting to it in anger. So, and I found out that especially with ladies, it's that way. When they come to you, they're angry about something. It's something that came up in their mind that they're afraid of. They're afraid of something is going to happen, that because of whatever situation it is, that something's going to go wrong. Then if you be honest, you attack that issue, not with other anger. You say, well, what you afraid of? Tell me.
Afraid of that baby
conversation.
For what?
Okay.
She afraid of that baby mama that's gonna take him back, that he keep going over there and visit.
Could be. But you need to open up that dialogue, have that conversation.
I would add to all fathers and all men, black men and every male. Think about this. You make choices. We make choices every day while we drive to work, we go to work, whatever you do, you make a choice to even be in this program. But keep in mind, you don't make the choice of the consequences. So think about it. You make a choice to do something that you're expressing yourself, whether it's anger, fighting, or so forth. But remember, you don't make the choice for the consequences of your action.
Listen, did you send me my money for that, Rohan? Are you just that's copywritten, brother.
listen for a moment there. I thought you was reading this, right? And I heard what you said.
He wrote my statement. He got up and plagiarizing it live on the show. He make it even sound better than when I say it. Boy, hey, let me tell you.
I think that's a compliment.
Yes, it is a compliment to be quoted. Listen, Brother Lightborn, I just felt some way because Brother Lightborn get all his quotes. Even in the audience, people saying, thank you, Brother Lightborn, for always dropping knowledge. That was Mr. Greg.
That's right. I'm gonna say this because I'm about to plagiarize Brother Lightborn. It's all about reprogramming. And he says it all the time, and it is so true. You have to retrain yourself to think differently. You got to reprogram the mind that you've had from a young kid. It's not easy, it's work. And sometimes you have to not be afraid to put in that work in order for you to achieve a more positive outcome and a better lifestyle, so to speak. Because a lot of times you're fighting years and years of the wrong programming in order for you to get to the right place. And so you guys got to keep that in mind, especially when it comes to anger. Like we keep saying, anger is not a bad thing. Reprogram the way you're using it, and you'll be a whole lot more successful. Like Gaspar was saying, Johnny was saying, you have to be able to know when and where to use it to make it a benefit, not a detriment.
And once again, here's shameless plugs again. You can only get this kind of information on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock here at Fatherhood Talks. If you subscribe to the channel, you like and share, you'll get the, as soon as we get ready, you'll get the invitations to come on and get to hear things like Brother Menard and Lightburn and Gaspar and our elder Johnny, Larry Jordan and the man in the street, Rohan Ruddick. And then all the guys down there as I call it, all the guys down there in the peanut gallery, Fred, Justin, Donald, Yurnell, and our #1 fan, Dr. Doom.
But you know what? If I had to really sum it up, why Black men are angry is because we'll probably go our whole life, right, fighting to be Black men and never get a chance to be human. And I would love, and I can't, because my higher self is not the Black man. My higher self is the human. But I'm so busy and I'm always fighting to be the Black man, we never get to be human. And so it seems like we will never get to be human until we get to heaven. And so it's a constant flight between being the Black man and being human. And that's the real issue. And until we address that issue, not only just as a nation, but as a world, we're going to have a problem, Houston.
Man, good night, everybody. On that note, good night, everybody.
On that note.
Listen, this is one of the reasons why, this is a dynamic panel, man. Folks, I would just say thank you for joining us tonight. And when you watch this in the replay, because I know a lot of people will watch the replay, definitely when you watch it, please like it if you like it. Hey, put a dislike if you don't like it. Even put a comment to say what you didn't dislike, because we are taking all that in accountability. If there are some topics out there that you want us to address, put that in your comments, and we'll take that to our showroom and figure out how we figure and get those things in. But with that being said, we want to thank everybody. Oh, we still got about like 5 minutes. So let me not rush us off with 5 minutes. So as we got 5 minutes left, let me just do a round robin to make sure if anybody got anything they want to share, anything they want to, a part of this also is that we got stuff, we got our businesses, anything else, we can inform people of that they can look out for and maybe even reach out to us if they need to. So let's start. Anybody can start, and we're in like that.
Before we exit, fathers and all black men, fight. The word fight, it is common. It is used in every situation. I always say advocate. Advocate instead of fight. Leave that to the boxers. What are we fighting for? Are we fighting to make ourselves of better value? Are we fighting to change the dynamics in our life? Remember, if you can't control yourself, do not try and control someone else. So remember, advocate.
Great word, great word. I like how my brother Rohan just said that. Advocate, it would be like me saying some type of legal term in the courtroom that nobody understands because we're so used to using the word fight. But advocate is the more normalized, accessible, easily accepted word for everyone when it comes to your desire, your willingness, your passion for whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. So if you can advocate for your job, for your family, for your children, this is Fatherhood Talk. So at the end of the day, the goal is about what we are doing to be better men in our households, for our children, and advocating to be that, be present, being available, not letting the system take us away and locking us up because in a moment of anger, we forgot that we need to be there for our children, our families. So many families are being led by women because men forgot that they were in that moment of anger. They forgot they had somebody to take care of at home. They allowed that anger to distract them. So again, my brothers, we are here for Fatherhood Talks. Let us remember where we're here for. We are grateful to God for allowing us this opportunity. And I'm thankful, man, to just hear the awesomeness of each and every one of you brothers.
Thank
Come
Channel
on.
your thoughts, man. I think I don't want to just reiterate what everyone else here said here, but everyone's on point when it's channel your thoughts. Decide what it is that you really want to be angry about. I think Larry said it best when he said, don't be mad at the person, be mad at the situation. It's a situation, and we say this all the time. Situations, how did you get yourself into that situation? And figure that out, because oftentimes we want to say someone else put us in a situation, but like Rohan said a little bit earlier, we can't control our consequences, but we can control the action that gets us into the situation in the first place. And so think it through, work through it, and if you can, avoid it. Be solution focused. I always say be solution focused, but I want people to understand what that means. When I say solution focused, it means you have a problem, don't dwell on the problem. Dwell on the actions it takes to fix the problem and all the different ways you can solve that problem so you can execute. Because if we focus on the problem, we're never going to change the situation that we're in. So be solution focused, not problem focused.
I would just say, affirm who you are and affirm who you're with. I affirm who I am, but I also affirm who I'm with. I am with this fatherhood reprogramming that we do every Tuesday and Wednesday. Because not only do I affirm all these guys on here, but they also affirm me. And that's the universal. I think in Africa, they use the term Ubuntu, which simply means I am because we are.
I just want to say, I thought about it. It was a great topic tonight, gentlemen. And it was hot, just like I thought it was going to be. And I thought about none of us are better than Jesus. And he got angry all the time. Sometimes it was time he turned over tables. He got mad at his mom, but he still made wine at the wedding. Okay, like we said, and like Gene said, you make choices. Like everyone here said, we make choices. We're just saying you're gonna get angry. Everyone's gonna get angry. Make the right choice. That's all.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, nobody else. Guys, we want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. If you are interested in joining us tomorrow night at the live Fathers Only conversation, we are there. You can look right into the I'll be sharing that information on the page afterwards, so you'll be able to see that and join us tomorrow on the Zoom, our Zoom conversation. We will be talking about feelings and emotions and how fathers share them. So we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and all the people in the replay. And we'll see you again next week at Fatherhood Talks.
All right. Gentlemen, y'all take care. Have a good night. Be blessed, fellas.
Have a blessed one.
All right, my brothers.
All right, have a good night.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ron. Go ahead. Do the chant. I know that's what you want.
God, somebody got to remind me, man. Somebody got to remind me that we're supposed to do the chant.
Okay.
There's enough of us on here still to do it. Okay, let's.
Yes, it
let's
is.
get it. I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am
I am
a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I
I
am.
am a man of courage.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
I said, come on, fellas. I said that I am.
I am.
I said that you are.
You are.
I said that we are.
We are.
Championship fathers.
Fellowship fathers.
Keep it going, bro. That's right.
Yeah, somebody got to remind me because I so many shows. I think it's time to go. But folks, just so you know that after every session we have, we do that chant to get us inspired to go into the day and continue to be championship fathers. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.
Good night.
Right.